Do you have a quote?
No, that would be a very good idea, Gabe. Thank you for telling me that. I have a pen. I will write down that can I just start doing random quotes? What will my theme of quotes be?
I think it can be whatever you want. What is it? See, you're right. On the podcast, the show has a theme.
Right, right.
So Lisa would do it with the theme. If we're doing depression, you would have a quote about depression. If we're doing bipolar, a quote about bipolar. If we're doing a show about Gabe, we'd have you get the idea. But this is so maybe it should be about like asking questions.
Ooh, well, that would be about like general knowledge in general. So I see so many possibilities of where I could go with this. I love this plan. We're totally doing that from now on. I don't know when our next one of these is, but tune in, folks. We will be doing that.
You know what?
Unless I forget about it, in which case we won't. But I'm writing it down, so probably not. Yeah.
You know what I think a super cool quote would be? Something like, where can they find the podcast? Should they subscribe?
That would be a really smart quote, as said by Lisa Kiner. Oh, wow. I'm just dropping the wisdom.
Okay, so I'm not doing it.
I'm getting there. You can find the Not Crazy podcast on psychcentral.com/notcrazy or your favorite podcast player, which is obviously where you will go to subscribe.
So psychcentral.com/notcrazy?
Yes, Gabe, that's psychcentral.com/notcrazy.
So psychcentral.com.
Yes, psychcentral.com/notcrazy. I'd spell it, but it's kind of long.
All right. So here is what is going to happen. Here's what we need all of you to do. It is so incredibly simple. In the comments section, ask questions. That's it. Please keep the questions as short as humanly possible. Like sincerely, we're talking 100 characters. You don't need to worry about giving us the backstory. Less is more, so we can pop them right on the screen so that people know what we're talking about while Lisa and I are answering them. So it's really easy. In the comments section, ask questions. And Lisa and I will get to as many of them as possible. You can ask them. Somebody asked, is Elizabeth happy? I think so. My friend Elizabeth is very happy. Now, I don't know about your friend Elizabeth.
Oh, somebody tells us, thank you. Someone has proven that they got the message on psychcentral.com/notcrazy.
So sincerely, here's what you need to do. In the comment section, put your questions. We will pop them up in the thing. It's really easy. Ask Gabe and Lisa, the host of the Not Crazy podcast, anything, and we will do our absolute best to answer them. That's it. It's
a simplistic concept, yes.
Lisa, while we are waiting for people to drop questions into the comment section, can you give us an example?
Okay.
Of your favorite question ever?
My favorite question. Well, you're going to be better at giving this answer because you have a lot more question experience than I do.
Yeah, but that would be my favorite question. What's your favorite question?
I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. It would be mean-spirited to go with the questions that I thought were not so good, but are amazing. I don't know. I guess
there are no bad questions, so I don't know why you said that.
Who was that? There was someone a couple of times back who had the whole thing, and then she actually wrote us an email after the fact to say thank you, which was so nice. Yeah, I don't remember. It was about medication. About how do I convince my loved one to take their medication? And it went really well. I thought had lots of answers, lots of ideas, and of course, folks in the comments chipped in with their own ideas. So I thought that went really, really well. And again, she sent us such a nice email afterwards. And I'm really sorry I don't remember her name now, but she sent us such a nice email saying thank you. And she did that by going to psychcentral.com/notcrazy, where she can find all the info for the show.
You're not just being annoying at this point. I
I can't just turn this on and off, Gabe.
All right. Do we have questions? Oh, wait. We haven't. Hang on. What? Camera is the most awesome producer ever. You don't get to see her because she is literally behind the scenes, but all of the stuff that pops up on the screen, like pop something different on the screen, camera.
That you're pressuring her, Gabe.
Yeah, no, this is her job. So she is the one that chooses the question, pops them on the screen, puts stuff on the screen, decides if Gabe is live, Lisa is live. If we're both live, yay! Watch this. Camera's going to do the Gabe and Lisa dance.
I don't know what that is.
That's where she puts me on the screen, then you on the screen, and then both of us on the screen.
Okay.
There's me on the screen. Harder. Now Lisa on the screen. Now both of us on the screen. Oh, we messed it up.
No.
All right.
It's a lot harder than it looks. I've tried it
really,
one
really
time
is.
and oh my God, it's impossible.
So big shout out to Camera who handles all the back end. All right. Thank you all live viewers. We are ready to get started. We have a ton of questions and here we go.
Okay. My anxiety is out of control. What can I do to immediately make the symptoms subside? Well, you got a lot of experience on anxiety, Gabe.
One of the things that I need to think about is you said immediately. That is a little bit concerning, of course, because immediately is an opinion. For example, some people want it like instant. Like I have anxiety, I want it gone in 1 second. That would be an example of immediately. Other people think, okay, immediately is, can I get it to subside in a half an hour? If the average anxiety attack lasts 24 hours or even 12 hours or even 6 hours, perhaps getting the symptoms to subside in a half an hour would also be considered immediately. So your mileage may vary on that. There are medical treatments to treat anxiety. Medication can work. You need to work with your doctor, et cetera, to find out what treatments are available there. I want to go ahead and point that out so that you can have a meaningful conversation with your doctor about treatments from pharmaceutical treatments, perhaps carrying a pill with you, et cetera, which is one of the things that I do. That said, let's talk about coping skills. One of the things that makes my symptoms lessen, I don't know if I would say subside, but lessen immediately or quickly, is removing myself from the equation or the scene or the issue. So let's say that I am at a restaurant and I start to have like a really bad anxiety attack, panic attack. I start to sweat. My heart is racing. It's really terrible. One of the things that I can do to help my symptoms subside immediately is excuse myself from the table and walk outside, walk around the building, walk to my car, sit in my car, sit outside, even go to the bathroom and sit in the stall. All of these things allow me to take big, deep breaths and remove myself from the situation. That is something I don't know that I would say immediately because, that's kind of a your mileage may vary thing, but that is something that helps my symptoms drop quickly. Lisa, your thoughts?
Oh, I just want to echo what you've said. When you say immediately, that's really hard. It's more of a preventative thing. I don't know. Your strategy is going to have to be more of a prevention than an immediate cure. But yeah, that has been very successful for you, Gabe. Leaving the scene, as it were. You carry your anti-anxiety medications with you, but I don't think you've taken them in quite some time. I think the number one thing would be being prepared to know that this is going to happen and have a plan, because you feel like, oh, no, that's never going to happen again. It happened this time, but that was an aberration. It's not going to happen again. And then the next time it comes, you're not ready. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't have a plan. You don't know where you're going to go. So if you have an idea in your head ahead of time of what you will do if this happens, if I panic, I will do this. I think that can be very helpful.
I also want to give a shout out just real quick to, some coping skills that have really helped Lisa and I. Lisa and I, we both have little fidget
let me get it.
toys.
Yeah, got it right here.
Fidget spinners.
I play with it the whole time we're doing this.
I want to be fair. I don't know that if you're in the middle of an anxiety attack or a panic attack, that would help with the symptoms of anxiety and panic. But it is something that helps keep me calm that could prevent me from getting symptoms. And when Lisa mentioned that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, I thought, well, that's true. Doodling, playing with coins, playing with a pen or an actual fidget toy has really, really helped me. All right. Are you ready for the next question there, Ms. Kiner?
Yes. Ready for the next question.
All right, here we go.
Okay. My question is, why are so many women suffering with insomnia in their 40s and 50s? I've had terrible insomnia in my 40s and panic attacks. I'm now in my 50s and now my insomnia is worse, but not my anxiety.
So this is a really tough question. I mean, Lisa is in her 40s and 50s, but Lisa has narcolepsy. So
right, I'm not really a good example.
She does not do well when it comes to insomnia. The first thing I want to say is that this is a medical question and it's going to need a medical answer. This is definitely the kind of question that you want to take to a general practitioner or to a doctor. And I think that it's a reasonable question to ask a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or even a general practitioner, because it's a good question. That said, we're not really all that qualified to answer it with any certainty other than to say the aging process sucks. And I think that a lot of people that have, I was diagnosed at 25 years old, and many of the people with bipolar disorder, many of the people that I talked to were diagnosed at, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And we've sort of been managing this illness for our entire lives we have mental health issues, but we're in our peak physical prime. Then when we start having physical problems, we're like, well, now wait a minute, did mental illness cause this? Or is it, because we're used to all of our symptoms being mental health related. And I want to say that realistically, even if we didn't have any mental health issues, any mental illness issues, it is possible that you would become an insomniac in your 40s and 50s because of the aging process. So one of the things that I want to caution you is you're saying, hey, this insomnia, is it related to my anxiety? Is it making my anxiety worse? It is certainly possible this could be a physical manifestation. It could be the insomnia could be caused by a physical issue that your aging body is having. I never thought I would say aging body, Lisa. Did you?
Well, I do want to say also, just from my own personal experience, I'm in, let's say, my early 40s, very, very early. Practically, my birthday was yesterday. That's all I can say. Anyway, and given my own medical history, my family history, I feel like it's most likely I'm probably going to go through menopause. It's going to be a while. It probably won't be until I'm in my 50s. But so you feel like, oh, that's so far away. That's so far off. Yeah, it's amazing how many changes I've noticed now, where I feel like I'm so many years away from this. Yeah, it's a long process. Like your body is just changing a lot for a really long period of time. So, don't negate that.
All right. Are we ready for the next question, Lisa?
Okay, next question. Okay, Shelby Warner asks, how do you help someone who is actively suicidal?
These are always the toughest questions because there's not a straightforward answer.
You think there's not a straightforward answer?
I think there's a straightforward answer of what not to do. Okay. I don't know that there's a straightforward answer of what to do. And that's what makes it
all right. That's fair. Right? That's fair. Okay. That's fair.
The list of things not to do are, don't ignore it. Don't say that they're being dramatic. Don't roll their eyes and say that they have so much to live for. I guess if I was going to say, here's the thing to do, take it very seriously. This is life or death. I think that people don't understand that when people express suicidality or people are actively suicidal, people want to, this is a life and death scenario. Imagine how you would react if a 12-year-old said that they were going to play basketball in the middle of the freeway. You wouldn't just roll your eyes and say, oh, that's stupid. You would think to yourself, they're 12, they've made bad decisions. Maybe I should not allow a 12-year-old to go out in the world with a basketball when they have told me they're going to do this. So you would stop and have a conversation with your 12-year-old, and you would start engaging them and gathering information and finding out what's going on. Because again, 12-year-olds are inherently inexperienced in life. And even though playing basketball in the middle of the freeway sounds like something that is ridiculous to you, it's actually very serious because they could follow through with this because of a misunderstanding or because of something they saw on MTV, for Pete's sake. If somebody expresses that they want to harm themselves, that they want to die, if they want to do any of these things, rolling your eyes and saying that it's unimportant, that's the worst thing to do because you're literally playing with a life or death scenario by ignoring it and hoping that it turns out okay. Now, that said, Lisa is a suicide prevention expert. She's been through so many classes.
I've had a lot of training.
And Lisa knows exactly what to say to this person. Just the quick version. We're not teaching a suicide prevention class, but give the basics.
Well, I would say the number one thing is, yes, take this seriously. That is a myth. That whole idea of, oh, people who talk about suicide never really do it. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. So this is a real possibility if someone is talking to you this way. You need to take action on this. You can't just let it go. A few years ago, if you'd said, what do I do with someone who's actively suicidal? I would have had a very clear answer. And that clear answer would have been, you call 911. You call 911. That's it. There's nothing else to be done. That's what you do. Well, yeah, that might not turn out so great if the police show up at your house. So it makes it more difficult. In general, do not be afraid you need to reach out for help. This is not necessarily something you can handle on your own. And when people say things like, would you stay up all night to help your friend who is suicidal? No, I wouldn't, because I would take them to a professional who could actually help them. This isn't a home remedy situation. Again, this is life and death, and once you need to take it seriously, act like this is an actual possibility. Don't dismiss it. Reach out for help, because this is probably not something you can handle yourself. And yeah, that would be my advice. Your thoughts, Gabe?
Yeah, and I want to tell everybody we are at the end of Suicide Prevention Month,
Oh
or
yeah, I
Suicide
forgot.
Awareness
Yeah.
Month. September is we've done so much, and I just want to make a little plug that suicide prevention is so much more than what we have just talked about. Suicide prevention is stable housing. Suicide prevention is mental health training. Suicide prevention is crisis intervention training for police officers. Suicide prevention is letting people, helping people understand that everybody has mental health, but not everybody has bad mental health. And some people have severe and persistent mental illness. And that whole conversation surrounding mental health, we have to stop stigmatizing mental health issues and mental illness. And just we have to understand that our physical health and our mental health is actually just health. And all of those things working together will help reduce suicides. And I just think it's so important. Be a suicide prevention advocate, raise awareness for suicide, and be a mental health cheerleader, because good mental health is extremely important in the fight against suicide. So just thank you so much. I know September is coming to an end, but I wanted to give it a little plug. All right,
Yeah.
Are we ready for the next question?
Next question. All right, Sarah Catherine Buchanan asks, how do I improve my motivation and my memory?
These are excellent questions.
That is an excellent question.
Lisa,
I'm laughing because Gabe mocks my memory all the time.
I don't mock it. I point out that you are often forgetful, that you are forgetful.
I am. That's a problem.
But sincerely, Lisa, you have expressed in the last several months that you have had huge problems with motivation and your memory, and you
Especially
have worked
right
with your
now.
therapist, and you've done so much to improve. So first off, before you get started, good job on the actions that you have taken.
Thank you.
Because you could have just done nothing. So I know that Lisa and I bicker. That's our thing. We used to be married, after all. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But sincerely, I want to give a huge props to Lisa publicly, that she's doing a great job managing this. So please take her words very seriously. I have seen, from an observer's perspective, they have paid dividends. I'm going to shut up now.
I don't know that I have any magic answers, though. It's just a really difficult time to be motivated. You feel like with the COVID and the quarantines, you just feel like we're all in this unending waiting pattern. It's like being in an airport and you feel like, well, I don't really want to start this project or that project because in a minute something's going to change. I have found it extremely hard to get motivated during this time period, because you feel like anything you start, you're not going to be able to continue with or keep up, or there's going to be some dramatic change tomorrow. I'm going to have to, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So why bother? That has been very difficult for me. In terms of memory, my memory has gotten a lot worse in the last several years, as partly as somewhat of a medication side effect. And the thing that has worked the best for me is just acknowledging that this is happening, because I was trying so hard for so long. I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. And if you're used to having a good memory, you're not used to writing stuff down. You're like, oh, I'll remember that. You don't have to do anything. You've spent however many years of your life just being able to remember stuff. So when the time comes that you can't, you don't have any coping skills for that. So it's very difficult. So now I carry these pads with me everywhere I go, all the time, always. And I'm constantly writing things down, which I did not used to do because I thought I could just remember it. And that has has helped a huge amount. And there's 1,000 apps for your phone where you can write stuff down and you can set reminders. And you feel like, I shouldn't have to do this. This is dumb. I shouldn't have to do this. I should be able to just remember. I should be able to just kind of power through it. Yeah, kind of an acceptance of the inevitable has really helped me a lot. Just accepting that, yeah, I'm not going to be able to fix this. I just need to manage it by taking different actions, which is depressing, but has really helped me stop forgetting stuff. So
Lisa writes everything down on.
I do.
She doesn't want to use her phone because she hates technology. And that's fair. I understand that. I like the tactile feel. Now, Lisa, hold up your notes pad.
My notepad.
there.
Well, my notepad is because I go through so much paper. I actually take scrap paper and staple it together into notepad format and carry it around.
Now
I go
want you to
through like
know
2 or 3 of these sheets a day.
so she literally takes regular paper, cuts it in half, sticks it together, puts 2 or 3 staples at the top, and that becomes
Well,
her
but
notepad
plus
that she
regular
carries around.
notepads are super
Now,
cheap.
Now, because I did want to support her, I bought her these expensive. They're
did.
like moleskin. It's
They're beautiful.
Italian paper, and I bought her a whole bunch of them. They really are. Look, they're
They're very nice.
They're made in Italy. I don't think people believe me. Made in Italy. Very nice.
You should feel the covers.
Yeah, she won't use them because she says that what she is writing is not important.
Right.
I want everybody to know that your personal thoughts, your to-do list, the minutia of your day, the things that you want to accomplish are extraordinarily important. What is more important than the things that make up your life? So Lisa has her method. I encourage her to do what is comfortable, but sincerely, if it will help somebody get started, invest a little in yourself and buy the moleskin or the Frabgiano that I can't pronounce. And remember that you are creating your life and nothing is more important than that. Plus, like Lisa said, it just feels
it does. It does feel really nice. And they have some of the cutest designs in notebooks, and you can match them to your purse or your cell phone or your glasses or whatever. So there's a lot of fun stuff to buy out there.
I only point this out because Lisa says that, taking notes and having to write to-do lists is depressing. I understand any sort of change in our lives can have that effect, but I encourage people to find ways to dress it up and to make
it less depressing.
Make it less depressing or fun or even desirable. And buy the fancy pen, buy the fancy notebook, do whatever you can. All right, we're going to move on to the next question, but before we do, I want to let everybody know that Lisa and I are not therapists. We do not have a PhD, and we are not doctors. We are coming from the lived experience perspective. My name is Gabe. I live with bipolar disorder. Lisa is a caregiver and a caregiver. She's a caregiver, the caregiver perspective. Hey, that's what it's called.
Well,
I didn't name
I also live with mental illness.
I know. I was getting to that. You also have depression. You gotta let me finish before you correct me.
I feel like you're doing it wrong.
Lisa is a caregiver. I also have depression. I was in the middle of the word. So, Lisa also lives with depression and anxiety. Lisa also lives with depression. I also lived with anxiety. And we have been in the mental health space for over a decade now. And we're the hosts of the very popular podcast, Not Crazy, over on psychcentral.com or your favorite podcast player. And it's been an honor to be a mental health advocate for the last decade, and working with Lisa, of course, is very cool. And Lisa's been behind the scenes for so long, so we're very happy to get her in front of the camera.
Thank you, Gabe.
We just wanted to go ahead and get that out there before we take the next question. Camera, are you ready?
She's ready, I think.
Yay!
Oh, sorry. I didn't. It didn't come up like it took me a second.
Yes, it did. I heard your mouse. You were on a completely different screen.
No, I turned up the other screen and then I got confused because I can't keep track of all the questions at the same time. It's too complicated. Which is why camera is amazing because it's impossible to keep track of. Okay, so Jesse asks, how do you deal with waking up multiple times a night without using medication?
Oh, this is Lisa.
What?
I get to tell my favorite thing.
Gabe is going to tell us all about sleep hygiene.
I love
He's not faking the enthusiasm.
Let me tell you all about sleep hygiene. So sleep is one of those things that we do not respect or value or really consider in our country. For some reason, it's just this ridiculous thing that we don't pay much attention to. And in fact, we often associate it with things like laziness or wasting time or, oh, you're just going to sleep your life away. If we need to gain extra time, if we're like, man, where are we going to get... Where am I going to get an extra hour to get this done? Oh, I'll go to bed an hour later, or I'll get up an hour earlier. This is all vital. It is sleep is necessary. So what I want to tell people is about sleep hygiene, because you said, how do I deal with waking up multiple times in the middle of the night? Well, the best way to deal with it is, of course, to prevent it, is to make it not happen. Now, obviously, I do not know Jesse's personal sleep hygiene routine, etc. But I want to say that if you are not doing the following things, try adding them in, and they'll help you sleep through the night. The first one is go to bed and get up at the same time every day. So, you know, whatever time that is, go to bed at the same time every day, no matter what. Even if you just no matter what, go to bed at the same time. It's very important. And when I say get up at the same time every day, you're like, well, what if I go out and I don't get home until 1 o'clock? Yes, you should still get up at the same time. You may drag for one day, but it won't escalate and throw your routine off forever and ever and ever. I cannot stress that enough. People that have these random sleep schedules, it's very hard to get in any rhythm, which may contribute to your body just being like, oh, it's uptime now. And you're like, no, it's sleep time. And your body's like, hey, I have no idea. You keep changing the rules on me. The second thing that I want to point out is that you should only use your bed for sleep and sex. So many people want to use their beds for everything. They're watching television, they're watching movies, they're using their devices, their iPads, they're reading. Sitcoms have ruined sleep hygiene because it always shows the happy couple sitting in bed reading magazines or using their tablets or watching television. Just no. No, your bed is for sleeping. Your bed is not for doing all of these other things. The next thing is create a space for sleep. One of the things that I have done is I have a fan in my room, so I keep my room cooler than the rest of the house. I have a white noise machine, so there's a that's only in that room. And I have, 150 or so pillows. And because I don't do anything in bed but sleep or sex, when I get in bed, one of those two things better happen. And my body is conditioned really to sleep. It's cooler in there. So yeah, that's different. There's that white noise machine. The fan is blowing on me. It's completely dark. I have blackout curtains to make it just hugely dark. And of course, it's the same time every day because I go to bed at the same time every day. And because I don't do anything in bed but sleep or sex, there's nothing else to do. So the minute I climb into bed, my body is like, okay, well, based on the temperature, based on the sounds, based on the fact that I'm in bed, I don't need to reach for anything else because all that's left to do is go to sleep. And it's not a perfect system. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not saying that I've never woken up in the middle of the night, because I certainly have, but this fixed so many of my sleep problems. Lisa, anything to add?
Well, I never have trouble with waking up or insomnia because I have narcolepsy, so I don't have a lot to say on the subject. But yeah, once again, I think this is going to be a preventative thing. You need to be ready and willing to sleep. And the thing, everybody changes their sleep schedule for the weekends. We all do it. Oh, you sleep in on Saturday. That's what everybody does. Yeah, that really messes you up. And Gabe's not, and I personally, yeah, we all think of, if you need extra time in a day, you think, I'll just sleep less. Oh, I have all these things to do. Well, I'll just go to sleep late. I'll stay up late and work. I'll get up early and jumpstart the day. We don't respect sleep. If people said, I'm taking care of myself with eating well and going to the gym, okay, that's cool. We like that. That's a good, like, almost moral thing to do. But sleeping, yeah, nobody likes that. You're lazy if you sleep. So yeah, we don't respect sleep enough. Sleep is just as important to your health as what you eat and whether or not you exercise.
Excellent. All right, Lisa, you ready for the next question?
Okay, next question.
Here
and I know what window it comes in, so I'm ready.
All
right. My husband deals with depression and gets overwhelmed other than just being there. Is there anything I can do? He has had a lot of bad luck finding a therapist. So what can I do to help him find one?
There's lots of things that you can do, but the number one thing that you can do is ask your husband how you can help. Let him know that you want to create a partnership, that you look at depression as external to your marriage, because it's not him. It's a disease that you're fighting. It's an illness. It's a disorder, whatever you want to call it. It is the enemy, and you and your husband you're the team. Go team. Ask your husband how you can help, and then start making reasonable decisions together. I'm not saying that whatever he says you have to do, because that that would be ridiculous. But talk it out. If he says, you can help by doing X, evaluate whether or not X is good, make a plan and move forward. As a person who is not suffering depression, you're sort of you're the scribe now, right? You're the administrative assistant. You write things down, you track the behaviors, you see, you are in a better vantage point to see what works and what doesn't work and report those findings back to him, a therapist, a doctor, etc. But so often people, they're like, well, what can I do? And they want to work independently of the person suffering from mental illness or depression. Don't. That's a divide and conquer strategy by depression. Isn't it great? It has now isolated your husband from you. That's the worst thing that can happen. Work with your husband. And I want to say, when I say work with your husband, so often people wait until things are bad, till the depression is horrible. And then they say, what can I do? No, one of these days when you're out, you've just seen a movie, you've had a beautiful dinner. I'm assuming that any of this is available right now, because that's the example that I've been using for a decade. And I just realized that in COVID times, that might not be an option. But when things are well, you're laughing, you're joking, say, hey, I want to talk to you. What can I do to help you when you experience depression? Now, Lisa is a healthcare consumer, and she's going to let you know what you can do to help find a good therapist.
Well, I would say keep in mind that you are paying this person. They are your employee.
No, how do you find them? They don't have a problem with one. They can't even get one.
That's what I'm saying. So don't be afraid to shop around, to interview people. The thing that I found to be the most helpful, because you get a recommendation from a therapist, maybe you check your insurance and you find somebody who's accepting new patients and they're near your house and done. Okay, this is your therapist now. Don't do that. Interview, and you can ask questions over the phone. What is their type of treatment? How do they, and it might be important to you that this person share your same religious or moral or political beliefs. So don't be afraid to ask these questions, and you can do that over the phone. And don't be afraid to think of your first appointment even as being more of like a job interview for that person. In terms of how to find a therapist, you could, of course, go to psychcentral.com/notcrazy. We've had plenty of shows on this topic, and there's a lot of websites out there that will help you do that. And looking for a recommendation from friends or family, I think, is really helpful, just to get more information about more like a lived experience thing. Your doctor or maybe other healthcare professionals that you trust can help you find somebody. But again, don't be afraid to interview people and to ask them questions about themselves if that's important to you. What
Excellent. Thank you so much. No, I completely agree. All right.
When he's silent like that, I wonder, what's he thinking? What's he thinking? We don't know. Yep. I'm funny.
So
I'm a comedic genius and nobody recognizes it. I am so sad for all of you.
I want to take a moment to point out that you criticize me for talking too much and you criticize me for being quiet.
And that's why we're divorced.
All right. Next question.
You just can't win. All right. Melissa Albright asks, I've had anxiety provoke a seizure. Is that normal? Plus I have ADHD.
I honestly don't know the answer to this question. I sincerely don't. Obviously, if you have an anxiety attack and then a seizure, there could be a connection somewhere. But both anxiety and seizures are both very serious, and this is a definite question that you're going to want to ask a doctor. You should not ask people on the internet this question. You are going to want to be seen by a doctor and explain exactly what happened, and ask your doctor if they can treat both your anxiety disorder and your seizures. And if they say, well, no, I'm just here for the seizures, find a new doctor, because I don't know the research on this, but in general, if you have a doctor that's only paying attention to your physical health and not your mental health, that's not okay. You want to approach both, but make an appointment, ask your doctor if they can treat both your anxiety disorder and your seizures at the same time. Find a doctor that will, and ask them this question and move forward. Lisa, do you have any thoughts?
I hate to say too much because, again, we are not doctors, and seizures, very serious, not something you can handle on your own. You're going to need to go talk to your neurologist about that. But one thing I would say is that I personally have seen that happen, people with anxiety, that it triggers a seizure. And also keep in mind, Are you sure that your anxiety isn't one of like the precursors to your seizures? I mean, some people with epilepsy can tell when a seizure is coming because they have certain symptoms. Is this one of yours? But again, don't trust me on this. Ask a doctor.
Yeah, this is exactly why you want a doctor that can treat both, because like Lisa said, this might not be anxiety at all. And if your doctor is not taking a mental health, is not treating your mental health, this could easily get missed. And then it ends up being a physical symptom that you did not report because after all, your doctor said, no, I don't do that mental health stuff. Lisa has illustrated an excellent example of where treating mental health and physical health is dangerous for us. It's for us, the people living with these illnesses. So yes, Joelle Marie, who is awesome, said, ask your neurologist. I completely agree. She nailed it. All right, Lisa, you ready for the next question?
Yes, ready for the next question.
Here we go.
If I don't take my meds, I stress myself going with others. I feel death may be easier than dealing with the stress. Is talking about it with others that deal with the same feelings good?
Yes, I absolutely. This is talking your feelings out and your fears and the things that consume you and you want to talk about suicide because you're looking for answers and you deserve to give yourself a giant pat on the back for that. You're trying to figure out how to move forward. Suicide is it's really not about ending things. It's about getting the pain to stop. And the reason that you want to talk to others is so that you can find ways to get your pain to stop. And that is a noble goal and a reasonable goal. First off, I think it's very, very important that you take your medicine as prescribed for a whole host of reasons that honestly have nothing to do with suicidality. Stopping medication cold turkey can have physical effects that we just do not understand because, well, we are not doctors and researchers. It's possible that the whiplash effect of going on and off and on and off and on and off medication is causing neurological issues that you're describing as feeling suicidal or considering death, et cetera, just because of the back and forth. So just to answer your question, is talking about it with others that deal with the same feelings good? Yes, it is absolutely good. It is be safe. Pick a support group, a moderated support group, find certified peer supporters, find people who are looking to move forward in a positive way. And you yourself have some control here. When you're talking to people, say, look, this is how I feel, and I'm looking for ways to move forward. Can you help me? What have you done? I always caution, look, is a group of people all sitting around, crapping over their own lives and getting more and more and more and more desperate and depressed helpful? No, of course not. Don't join that group. In fact, leave that group and find a better group. There are so many incredible peer support groups, peer-run support groups. There are support groups run by therapists even. They're free groups. And of course, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and talk about these feelings with a trained person. Also, the crisis text line is uber cool. Look, I'm like 45 and I like it. But yes, to answer your question, talking about it is absolutely an incredible way forward. Lisa, do you have anything to add?
Well, I just want to clarify that obviously Gabe and I have both utilized support groups or peer support at different times in our recoveries, and it's not a substitute for your doctor or your therapist, but it's a very nice addition. It's not something you can go off and do on your own. It doesn't work on its own. It's not by itself. You're not replacing your medical care with this, but it's a nice adjunct to that, and it can be very, very helpful.
Completely agree. All right, we ready for the next question, Lisa?
I am ready for the next question. All right, Christopher asks, let's address veteran suicide. How can we help? What do we say?
This is, first off, thank you so much for bringing this up because this actually builds upon peer support, right? So obviously I can't speak for every single veteran out there. That's not fair or reasonable. So I'm going to speak in a little bit of stereotypes or what I've seen working with the VA. Veterans often take advice from other veterans or other military personnel before the general public. And it doesn't matter why it is, who cares? So when you say, how can we help? You can find a veteran support group and take them there. And by take them there, say, I'd really like you to go for me. It would be beneficial if you would go for me. I know you don't want to go and you probably don't need to go, but I would like it if you went, and I'll wait outside. And that is really the biggest piece of advice that I can give, which is veterans are finally addressing veteran mental health and veteran suicidality. And the VA has support groups. And again, I don't know where you live, et cetera, but the number one thing that I have seen, and full disclosure, I am not a veteran, the number one thing that I have seen is when veterans are having mental health issues and they get peer support from other veterans who are experiencing the same thing, sincerely, magic happens. Call the local VA on behalf of your loved one and find out when make an appointment, find out when these classes are, these support groups are, just whatever. Figure out what you can do. What you say is, I love you very much and I want to help you. And what I want to do is get you to a place where you can talk about your experiences. Now, that is all specific for veterans. Obviously, if they are in immediate danger to themselves or others, their veteran status becomes irrelevant. And you need to get them, call 911, get help immediately, figure out what they need, as we talked about earlier in the program. But if you are fearful of it, if it is general, ask them to join a support group for veterans, and find them that support group and tell them that you support them and that you love them and you want them to do this for you, and ask them if they will. I've also heard very good things from people that have joined like the VFW and other veterans groups, not because of suicidality, but just they end up there playing cards, and then this just naturally comes up. And I know that a lot of people find a lot of support in that. Again, your mileage and it very much may vary, but those are some general hints and tips that I can highly recommend. Lisa, thoughts?
I would recommend. I would echo. I am also not a veteran, but I would echo what you said. That don't join the VFW or the American Legion for help with your suicidality, but yeah, that's very helpful to people, just to have a group of other people who understand. Veterans feel like other veterans understand them better than the rest of us do. And I would also say that the silver lining of COVID is that a lot of these support groups are online now. So that could make them a lot more accessible if you're in a rural area, or if there's not something available nearby in your town. A surprising number of support groups, even through the VA, are now conducting their things online. And so it's a lot easier to get to them than it used to be.
Excellent. Alrighty, you ready for the next question?
Mm-hmm. Next question.
Here we go.
Any suggestions for dealing with agoraphobia?
Lisa, thoughts?
I guess from my own personal experience, again, not a doctor or therapist, I would say that take it seriously. And don't let it happen, sort of. Your number one thing when you start to have the panic or the anxiety is to do whatever it takes to make it go away. And if that means staying inside, that's what you do. But then what happens? It's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's not just going to go away. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse until you're completely isolated. So as much as you don't want to kind of push through it in the early stages, for people I personally know, I have found that to be very helpful. Because if you isolate yourself even more, it doesn't go away. You think it's going to, but it's not. It's just going to snowball until it's a real problem.
Some other helpful hints and tips for agoraphobia is that you have to sort of address where you are or where your loved one is in the cycle to know what to do. If they haven't left their house for several months, probably the only thing that you can do is involve medical personnel, a therapist, et cetera, because, it's reached critical mass. It's very, very extreme. If it's something that's going back and forth, you're noticing a trend, et cetera, in yourself or your loved ones. One of the things that I recommend is the baby steps. And by baby steps, I mean, walk to the mailbox, walk around your block, walk around your house, mow your own lawn, and give yourself credit for these things. Again, so often we tend to look at agoraphobia as either all in or not, meaning, oh, you haven't left your house. You since you won't go to the concert, you have agoraphobia. but let's not look at it that way. Let's look at the baby steps. So first you go to your mailbox, then you walk around the block, then you agree to go to the corner store and pick up a Diet Coke. Then you agree to go through the drive-through, or maybe even just drive your car around the block, but don't get out of your car. And you can do all these things with a friend. That may be very supportive in its own way. The fact that you're not alone. You can take your ex-wife Lisa with you. But give yourself credit. This is hugely vital. Give yourself credit for those successes. What did you do today? I went to the mailbox. That is a huge accomplishment when you're battling agoraphobia. What did you do today? I walked around the block. I went through the McDonald's drive-through. I went to the grocery store and picked out my own produce. These are huge accomplishments. Work your way up to going to the football game or the concert or the movies or your grandma's or whatever. Just give yourself huge amounts of credit for the little victories. So often those are missed. And really, this applies to almost every area of mental health advocacy and fighting severe and persistent mental illness. But those are what I'd recommend. And then, of course, you probably will need medical help with it. Therapists and doctors have lots more coping skills, research, and can really tailor a plan just to you, certainly more so than answering a quick question on the internet for a couple of minutes. So highly recommend that as well. And there's a lot of therapists that will do in-home visits. And of course, like Lisa said, there's a lot of online stuff now. Telehealth is huge in a way that it wasn't a year ago at this time. So take full advantage of the silver lining. Lisa.
Well, I would agree. To celebrate the small successes, you feel like, hey, I wasn't able to go to the concert with, not that you can find one of those right now, but I wasn't able to go to the concert with, 10,000 fans. That was failure. Well, yeah, you don't need to jump immediately into the deep end of the pool. You can build yourself up to it. Celebrate the small successes, going outside, going for a walk, going to the mall at a time when not very many people are there at the off hours. Yeah, give yourself credit for what you can do, and maybe that will help you feel better from dwelling so much on the things you're missing out on.
Awesome. All right, here's the next question.
Okay. What type of therapist, therapy, or group do you recommend for someone like me with anxiety? My anxiety has gotten worse through COVID, and self-isolating, can't seem to find a group to connect with, and what can I do to be less anxious?
Well, this is fantastic. You can Google online online anxiety support group, and I bet that you will find one. There's different types of these online support groups too. There's like Facebook groups where everybody just kind of talks like the message board style or the Facebook group style. Then there's also live ones where people are literally in their own little Zoom windows, 20 at a time or 15, 10, however many there are. And those happen. So the first thing that I recommend is if you can find an anxiety support group online, that's fantastic. Obviously, if you can find an anxiety support group that is meeting in person, much more difficult depending on your area, or of course, because of COVID restrictions, you can do that. But look for an anxiety support group. The next thing that I want to suggest is there's another group. It's based on the 12-step model. It's by the people who did Alcoholics Anonymous. It's called Emotions Anonymous. And while that is definitely wider, it covers more than just anxiety. A lot of these things, a lot of the skills tend to apply in many other areas. And you will still meet with people. And I know that I'm recommending Emotions Anonymous because a lot of those groups have not dried up because of COVID, because they've had a lot of support because they're so broad. There's many more people keeping them alive. Those are based on the 12-step model. So, if you don't like 12-step models, it may not be for you. But I do recommend Emotions Anonymous. I think they're fantastic. Finally, general mental health. General mental health groups often do a great job of giving a little bit of time to many disorders, which means that they will get to you personally. And also there's a lot of things that a lot of skills just apply in other areas and you can learn something. What I would generally avoid is, like a bipolar support group or a schizophrenia support group or a depression support group, simply because they're going to be ultra focused on depression, bipolar, and schizophrenia, and they won't have necessarily the information that you need to follow up on or get the support that you need. But that's... Did I forget anything, Lisa?
No, I think you've covered everything. Again, the silver lining in our COVID cloud is that a lot of things a lot more telehealth and a lot more stuff is available online than used to be. And especially for people in a rural area or, yeah, it's just extremely helpful. Doesn't make up for the isolation of COVID, but that's what a silver lining is.
All right,
You
we
ready
ready for the next question?
I was about to say yes. Next question. My 26-year-old has schizophrenia and is on medication. Now he is suffering from anxiety from me going back to work. He's calling sometimes 5 to 6 times a day. It is becoming stressful. He wasn't like this before COVID-19. Any suggestions?
Lisa, your thoughts?
Well, I would say that he's certainly not alone. Even people with no mental illness history at all are struggling with COVID. It's been a very difficult time for everyone, and it makes everybody extra anxious. I would say that obviously you're going to want to be in close contact with his doctor, his therapist, his regular medical team, see what else you can get going, what resources are available to you, the same as you would any other symptom that has come up with a schizophrenia or any other change that is coming. And I don't know how applicable this is to your situation, but boundaries. Sometimes people, especially some of us with mental illness, you kind of get into this rut and you can't get out of it. And so if you're allowing this person to do this and call 5, 6 times a day, et cetera, they just can't get out of it. They get fixated on it. So maybe start giving some, enforcing your own boundaries of what you are willing to do, what you can and cannot do. You can't be all things for this person. Gabe?
Yes. So I really want to echo everything that Lisa said. Those are the things that we can do, right? You can only call me between these times, or maybe text first. I know that's really hard because obviously, your child. They're
well,
calling.
You can't
help.
shoulder this. You can't shoulder this burden all alone. Is there someone else that you can bring in, some other family member that maybe can help, or that he can turn to when he needs support, so that he's not relying so heavily on just this one person?
Which is absolutely excellent advice. The other thing is, so with HIPAA law, I don't know what the situation is between you and your loved one, but if you have a signed release, this is a good time to talk to whomever is prescribing the medications and say, hey, I've noticed this because of COVID and blah, 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 blah. What are some solutions that we can brainstorm together? If you don't have a HIPAA release, and a lot of people tell me that, well, that won't work. I'm not allowed to talk to the medical doctors, et cetera. That is not true. They're not allowed to talk to you. You are allowed to talk to them. Leave them a voicemail. Just send them a voicemail and say, hello, my name is Jane Doe. My son is John Doe. I know that I do not have a HIPAA release. I know that you cannot give me a call back. I just want to give you this information so that you can help my child. He is calling me 5 to 6 times a day. This has started in the time of COVID. These are the things that he is saying on the phone. This is the information. I understand that you cannot discuss this with me, but I wanted you to have the information. This is very valuable for 2 reasons. One, the doctor now has this symptom that is in your son and can help make medical choices moving forward. 2, your doctor may be able to use this as saying, hey, I talked to your mom or dad or whomever, and they said the following, and I would like to discuss it with them. Do you think it would be okay if I brought them in or got a HIPAA release or something like that? And maybe I can get some more info. And this could be the start of becoming more of a partner. Now again, I know that that's just so much easier said than done, and I'm just glossing over so many issues and good, bad, and ugly when it comes to this. But leaving that voicemail or sending an email is something that you can absolutely do to report it, and that may pay big, big dividends. All right, you ready for the next question?
Absolutely, Gabe. Next question.
Absolutely.
See, that's my tagline.
Absolutely.
I don't get that. That's a joke I don't get, apparently. Okay, Emily Ann asks, do you have any tips on how to bring up new symptoms to a doctor without seeming like a hypochondriac?
Doctor works for you, Lisa.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. If possible, get a new doctor. The doctor works for you. This person is your employee. If you're not happy with when you are asking for something or wanting something, if you're not happy with the results you're getting or the reaction you're getting, get a new employee. You can fire this person and get another one. Now, I know that's a lot easier said than done. You might not have that option. Maybe you're in a rural area, maybe your health insurance. But if you feel like your doctor is not taking you seriously or isn't giving you the type of care or attention that you need, get a different doctor. Or If that's not an option, you could talk to them about it and say, look, I feel like you're not taking me seriously. What can we do to improve this? And are you sure that your doctor thinks that you're a hypochondriac? Maybe, I know that sounds dumb, but maybe you're a hypochondriac about hypochondria, right?
What does that even mean?
No, I'm saying this person might not have the same impression of it that you do. If you're worried that this person is thinking poorly of you, they well might not be. They might not care at all, especially for a doctor. I think a lot of people you worry about because you have to say so many personal things and you have to share so much and it's embarrassing, and people are like, oh, I don't want this man to think poorly of, or person, I shouldn't say man, I don't want to share my sexual history or how much I drink or how many drugs I've done because I don't want this person to think poorly of me. Yeah, they see dozens of people a day. They don't care about you. It's kind of like, oh, I'm worried that the cashier is going to look down upon me for what I'm buying. Yeah, they don't care. They're just there for their job. They are not taking it personally. They're not worried about you in it specifically. What do you think, Gabe?
I think it's also important to understand that this is the role of a doctor.
Reassurance.
Is to give all the new symptoms so that you can get the answers to your questions that you need. This allows you to live your best life and to move forward. And even if the doctor thinks you're a hypochondriac, and even if the doctor says you're a hypochondriac, so what? Who cares? I mean, just this is the service that I want so that I can move forward the healthiest, safest, and best way possible. The only tip that I would really offer, I just, I kind of think about this sometimes when it comes to it. Write them all down beforehand.
Oh,
write everything that you want to discuss with your doctor beforehand. And the reason that I say that, yeah, and rank them. And the reason that I say that is because that way you can just go in and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just start nailing them off. And also by thinking about it the night before or the morning of the appointment, maybe you will realize, okay, you know what? I've written down here that my left toenail is discolored, but now that I see it in writing and I'm looking at my toenail, okay, maybe that was a little too far. I'm going to remove that one from the list. So it gives you the opportunity to think about everything that you want to ask, and most importantly, it gives you the opportunity to rank them in the order that you want. So that kind of, now you're prepared, and you will be more prepared if your doctor tries to rush you out. You'll be like, ha ha ha, I got my list. And you can keep your list on the super magical notebook that Lisa taught you how to make during the show.
Arts and crafts.
We don't really have time to do anything else because we ran out of time. Because Gabe and Lisa talked too much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Gabe and Lisa talked too much.
We absolutely adored all of you giving yourselves peer support in the comment section, talking to each other, supporting each other, offering your own advice. This is what this is all about. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Across all of our channels, The Mighty, Psych Central, This Emotional Life, Gabe Howard, literally a couple of 100 comments in the past hour, which is just
amazing.
A huge amount. So big round of applause to all of you. My name is Gabe Howard, and I am the host of the Not Crazy podcast. And this is
we still haven't figured that out. It's hard because it's a mirror image thing.
This is Lisa Kiner, the co-host of the Not Crazy podcast.
I get it wrong too.
Fun fact, we used to be married. Please check out the Not Crazy podcast at psychcentral.com/notcrazy or on your favorite podcast player. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Well, thank you so much. Bye.